Whenever you're dealing with claims that happened a long time ago, it's very difficult because the first question people have is, why'd you wait so long? And then at the time it's brought, it was, oh, it makes sense because, everybody, it's the Me Too movement. We're going to get on the bandwagon, or, we want to file a civil suit and this will help us. There's always a lot of other questions that jurors are asking. So whenever you have age-old, decades-old claims, when it happened, you have to explain it. And I think the prosecution did a great job in explaining it this case. They had, the Church of Scientology, provided a good reason why they couldn't speak up earlier. And the way they're able to explain it, the juror says, okay, we kind of buy that. Well, normally it wouldn't make sense why you'd wait so long. We kind of get why you did. And so that to me, was a challenge. If they would have found him not guilty, I think a lot of that would have been just because the jury didn't buy the time period it took. When things happened 20 years ago, memories fade, forensic evidence, disappears, and it's just that much more difficult. So, I'm always, skeptical when they bring claims like this that are so old, because you really have to explain them. And from an evidentiary perspective, they're a little more difficult. So that kind of surprised me. But the fact that the jury, really believed the witnesses, and they were able to escape, that long time period. I think was certainly, to them, and a little bit surprising, but certainly understandable.
Anything you want to say, Mr. Masterson?
Any comments?
Concerned about a possible retrial?
Do you feel this is a step in the right direction for your?
Well, it's a good question, because I think the second the women walked in their office, the prosecutor thinking, wow, we got a challenge here. Even though we may love these victims, we may believe them completely, how do we prove this case? But it happened right around the Me Too movement was breaking. And the Me Too movement gave a lot of confidence and set the pathway for a lot of women to come forward, and a lot of prosecutions and to come forward. And for companies to take brazen acts against people that were harassing and committing, any crimes towards women. So it got caught up in the storm. And I think that helped a lot. Had this been brought in 2012, if they would have come forward in 2012, they may not have prosecuted. But the fact that, it hit right around the Me Too movement, they had a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence. Certainly the public was on board with protecting women that have been victims, in the entertainment industry to whatever level. So I think the timing made a big difference. And then it's just about going forward and compiling the evidence, and proving the case.
Jurors clearly leaning more your way.
Any message to your fans?
Whatever trial lawyer you talk to is going to have a bit of a different answer. Quick verdicts either mean the evidence was so tainted or heavy in one way or the other that the jury just didn't need to take any time. And a lot of times that means the jury even made their decision before going into the deliberations room. And so usually if you have a quick result, it can be just either they quickly couldn't, suffice the reasonable doubt threshold, or it was just overwhelming. There was little discussion. When time goes into it, it kind of can go either way. It just shows that it's more of a difficult case. Depending on the nature of the evidence, more consideration needs to be taken. Maybe 1, 2, or 3 jurors may have a strong opinion that's holding up the group. So it's so difficult to estimate what that means in terms of a long deliberation. I tend to like it because, it gives the public faith that the jury's doing their job. They're not coming to a quick decision one way or the other. They're taking their time and they want to get it right. And we really need to bolster our judicial system, and really kind of give it as much credit as we can. And things like this only add to that. So I always, whenever we have a longer deliberation, I always look at it positively on both the case itself as well as the system itself.